Hey guys, this is a short video to show you how to install the Blackvue 750x or the DR750x into a Landcruiser 200 series. I'll say I'm definitely not an expert, and this has been a real pain in the backside, so I hope this video will help out any of you guys that are looking to do a DIY job. So first up, let's have a look where we've mounted the cameras. In the rear, with the tailgate up, we've mounted the rear camera as shown, just above the trim and between the sort of two demister lines there. We've had to tilt the camera down to face the ground quite a bit. And then for the wiring, we've taken the power lead through here. We've popped the trims off here. There's a great video from, I think it was Stefan from Richard's Automotive, showing how to pop the trim off. But basically, if you apply, if you've got a trim tool, even better, tuck it in here. Alternatively, just apply regular pressure and these pop off pretty easily. So we fed the wire through here, through one of these two grommets. I actually started to go with the, I can't remember which one it was, but there was a tight squeeze getting through there, to be honest. I think this shorter one was pretty jam-packed with a number of other wires, but we got through there in the end. What I did wrong the first time with the supplied wire from the rear to the front camera is I ran it down the side panel here, popped out half my drawers and shit, and basically ran it across, as I have done for most of my life, 12 volt under the door sills and stuff through the passenger side. What I then figured out, which is a pain in the backside, is that the cable was too short to get to the front camera. So don't do that. Basically come down through here, take it through this, you can basically push your cable through this groove in the trim, and then follow that through, tucking it up between the glass under the roof lining, and then over there. I'll just move around over here. And again, thanks to the guys on the LC200 Facebook group for help with this tip. I can't take credit for it, but basically through this trim up here, you can just push the cable in. Make sure if you've got the airbags that you don't run the cable behind them. Again, follow the trim through here. Found that this corner was you can see the cable just in there. This was kind of the sharpest turn in the cable, both here and at the there was another point as well. But other than that, it was a pretty straight run through the rear door, coming through into the front passenger door, following that same trim line again, and then popping off the pillar bracket here. So if you haven't done that before, these clips just pop out. Just put in a trim tool ideally, and they'll just clip out. And there's a couple of bolts you just unbolt, take the handle off, and the whole trim panel just pulls out pretty easily. I then ran the cabling up through the headlining between the windscreen, and if I just jump in, this was the best position I found for the camera. So again, the 750x, I mounted it here after a bit of, I had my dad give me a hand trial fitting it while I was in the driver's seated position, and the good thing is that I can't see the camera from there, so I didn't want the LEDs impacting my line of sight at night. So I used one of the cable stays, which is just a 3M adhesive in here, which is taking both the power and the rear camera lead the whole way through. Alright, so the front and rear cameras are in, and then getting power to them. Obviously the unit comes provided with the basic SIG socket, which is straightforward, plug and play, but who wants to have a cable hanging over their screen or throughout the front of the dash? So the hardwire kit is included, and what I started to do is pull all these trim panels off and basically the whole radio unit out, to try and pick up the back of the cigarette lighter accessories and power there. That was unsuccessful, so again back to the Facebook forums or groups, and got advice to go over to the passenger side footwell, and basically pull off the trims, which is pretty straightforward. This top panel here, if you haven't done before, there's a couple of these clips that you just pop out from the bottom, which is straightforward. And then getting access to the fuse panel up there, which is, might be a bit dark, but see how we go. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah, just up here, back there. This was fun. Firstly, access is very tight. What I would recommend is going to the front fuse box of the vehicle, popping that off, and inside you'll get this little thing, little trim removal tool, which sits in here, because they're an absolute bugger to pull out. Even with long nose pliers, I couldn't get to them. So the question is which fuses to use. So with the Blackvue hardwiring kit, 3 wires, which come with inline fuses, yellow, which is labelled for your positive battery feed, and it's important to put that on a positive feed, which is constant even when the car is turned off. And the reason for that is if you want parking mode, and if you don't know what parking mode is, look into it. Basically it'll record any motion or activity even while the car is turned off, and you can see now the car's turned off and the LEDs are indicating we're in parking mode. So I've got it set to 12 volts. So in the iOS app for the Blackvue app, there is a voltage cutoff. So it's basically going to run until my starter battery gets down to 12 volts. And having been hit in the front and rear in 2 separate incidents, and a $1,000 excess each time, and those buggers being hit and run, I'm going to run this thing as long as I can. So coming back to the wiring, where did I pick up the positive, which is the yellow lead off the fuse panel? I had advice from some guys, which they suggested this second bottom fuse here, this ignition 2 10 amp fuse, but there was actually no power when the car was turned off for that, so ignore that. And where I landed was up on the top left, 15 amp fuse for your hazard lights. So as you appreciate, hazard lights are always accessible even when the car's turned off. So I did that through using a piggyback fuse panel connector, and I'll show you what those look like a little bit later. If we probably can't get up in here, it's not a great view, but basically it plugs into the existing fuse, and then it gives you a little pigtail wire off there, which you can hook into where is it? Come on, there we go. So you can see the red wire here with the blue heat shrink feeding across to, no, I'm not going to get it, sorry. Yeah, I'll put a link in them. They were $6 each from JCar. Made life pretty easy. Anyway, coming back to the wiring, so we picked up the positive constant 12 on the hazard lights with a 15 amp fuse, and then the accessories, where did we put that from? I went off the radio fuse here, or was it the SIG? I can't remember now. I think it was radio, yeah. So basically anything that turns on with the accessories, that's when your camera is going to fire up. For ground, I had issues finding ground. I actually went over to these bolts a couple of times, put it in here with no success, so I started hunting for another connection, which was also unsuccessful. So I came back again after about an hour of stuffing around, and it worked. So frustrating, and hence why I'm making this video, because I'm surprised you haven't heard me curse from wherever you're watching this. It was no fun, but I've gone through it, and hopefully this video will help you guys. The other thing I was curious on doing is this here is a constant feed off my lithium battery under the bonnet. That's an iTech 120X. So this is always on. It draws bugger all, and we just use it for charging phones and stuff. Keep it in the glove box even if we're not in the car. That's been great, and I was going to charge or run the cameras off of the lithium, but haven't done that yet. So here are the double micro blade fuse socket wire taps I was talking about. I think they call them pigtails or piggybacks. So yeah, bought a couple of these from J-Car. That's what they look like. So you need 2 fuses. Obviously you get the original one out of your fuse block in the car, but you'll need to buy another packet. And J-Car didn't have them individually, which sucked, so I had to buy a mixed bag of these, which is $12, believe it or not. Must be getting old. But anyway, yeah, the Blackvue DR750x is now finally installed, and we'll see how it goes. So guys, there you have it, the most amateur install you'll probably see. Got there in the end. Hopefully any of you willing to tackle this job yourself, I'd encourage you doing it. Save yourself hundreds of dollars getting a so-called professional to put it in. Hardest part's just figuring out which trim panels to take off, where to run the wires, and where to pick up the feed, which hopefully this video is now explained. So if you got any questions, throw them in the comments. Otherwise, if you got any recommendations on setting up parking mode, what voltage cutout or what G sensor sensitivity to set for a 200 series, that'd be great, because I'm hoping that I don't get hit again, but if I do, I want to make sure that I got the settings correct, so I've captured all the footage and the cheeky bastards before they disappear. So thanks guys, all the best and happy travels. Look, just while we're here, got the camera out, may as well show you that some of you may be interested around installing a lithium auxiliary battery in your 200 series. This is a 2019, not that it really matters what year, but I went with the iTech World 120X lithium battery. As you probably read, with lithium, super lightweight, which was amazing to actually pick one up. Originally had a I can't remember the brand it was in here actually, but ARB did all the original wiring and fit out for that when I got the car new and set it up. Got the Victron Smart Shunt here, which is a slightly older model with the exposed control or PCB on it. Have been looking to get some kind of waterproofing for that, which I haven't got around to yet. The wiring is not as neat as I would like it to be perfectly honest. The other thing I've done off the back in the drawers, I've obviously got the control panel for the Victron unit, which I really like. Interestingly though, the car is always drawing 0.15 amps, even when everything's turned off, even when that 12 volt feed under the dash that I showed you before, even when that's disconnected, there's still 0.15 amps drawn, which I'd like to get to the bottom to. And I've actually bought a Victron, what's it called? It's the Bluetooth connection device. It escapes me at the moment. Basically, I was hoping I could wire that into remotely with a in-cab switch. Basically, disconnect the load between the battery and all accessories, so when I'm stopped for a long period, I can reduce that 0.1 amp draw. But the other thing is, I've added with the Victron Smart Shunt here, you get the option to run sensor across to your main battery as well, which is still just the factory shitty Toyota battery, which is not great, particularly if you go to the drive-in and watch a long movie and you've got the stereo cranked up. And I've had to do the walk of shame to get the jump starter from the pimply face kid at the candy bar to get going again, which was embarrassing. So I've hence bought a ARB jump starter kit, which I'll pick up next week. Ultimately, sorry, I was saying that yeah, you could run the 12 volt from both the auxiliary battery and the start battery back to the Victron unit, but I opted to change the primary battery voltage readout to this auxiliary battery temperature sensor here, and so I can see the temperature here either on the iOS app, which I run on the phone up on the dash, or from the Victron unit back in the on the back wing panel of the draw system in the rear, which is not installed at the moment because I had to pull the trim and stuff off to get the dash cam in. But so far, the lithium's been really good. From a charging perspective, I'm running the BCDC 1225D, also installed by ARB when I got most stuff installed, including the bar and the runver and drawers and plenty of other stuff. All in all, I wouldn't ever put a lead acid back in, and the next move I would be doing, if funding wasn't an issue, is putting a dual lithium setup in, just due to the sheer charge rates and things like that. One interesting thing to point out though, with the BCDC, you can certainly see that you'll be getting 25 amps charge out of this pretty quickly. However, there's a bit more to talk about on that. Alright, so talking a bit more about the 1225D charging lithium. Again, I'm not an auto-elec by any means, but what I have noticed is that the 1225D, when you start the car up and reading off the Victron monitor, you can see 25 amps going in pretty quickly. Now let's say that you're in a situation where you're driving an hour, a couple of hours or more, you're touring, you're towing, you're road tripping, whatever it may be. You might have a fridge in the back like I do. You might be charging a whole bunch of devices, camera gear, whatever it may be while you're driving. One would assume that while you're driving, you're feeding at most 25 amps into that battery while it needs it. And that's what I thought as well. What happens though with the 1225D, and this has been confirmed to me by Redarc over the phone, is that I think it was a 2-hour period, but basically every 2 hours you need to stop and turn the car off and basically reset the time interval from the 1225, because otherwise it starts to go into like a trickle and a maintenance mode, so you're not putting that full 25 amps in. So when you rock up to camp or wherever it may be, you'd assume that you've got a cold fridge and your battery's full because you've been driving for half a day. Not the case. There is a firmware update, I believe, for the BCDC available from Redarc. I'm not really keen to start pulling the car apart again to get that done, but I really think that it's a limitation that certainly was not on the box. There's better videos than this that kind of go into the more technical details of that as well on YouTube, so just do a bit of a search for that. But all in all, I probably wouldn't be going with a 1225D with a lithium battery again.